evening, good afternoon, everyone, not evening. But thanks, Chelsea, for that highlight on the patronicity and public space places program. I know that's something that the City of Midland participated in back when we did our streetscape redevelopment project back in 2017, and was actually very helpful to get some additional amenities added to the space, like additional benches and other types of seating throughout that whole area. But actually what I am here to talk to everyone about is this pretty fun committee that I've been able to serve on since 2016. It's a great group of people that have come together and really wanted to try and elevate public art within Midland. It's been called Public Arts Midland, and it's a group from a variety of different organizations, including the Center for the Arts, Dow Gardens, Creative 360, and all really spearheaded by the Midland Area Community Foundation. So we've actually gone through a number of different iterations of this committee to do summer programs that have started back in 2017. And I'm going to go through each one of these years and kind of highlight some of the things that have been done throughout that time. But we really have a theme where we've tried to connect art into the city and draw very intentional connections to the way that art influences our day-to-day lives. That started back in 2017 with the Art Builds Midland campaign. It continued in 2018 with Art Connects Midland, and then last year being Art Inspires, and this year being Art Plays. I'll be able to talk a little bit about each one of these and how they've been integral into some of the work that we've done to date. Back in 2017, we did have a couple of things that were done in public spaces. We came together as a group and we wanted to work on something that would be eye-catching and be able to draw people into possibly underutilized spaces within the City of Midland. And as a result of that, we had two pieces that kind of came forward. One is the piece that you see in the back of the image, which is a stereo bot lighted and kind of a colored piece of artwork that was a temporary installation. And this happened to be just down by the Tridge in the lawn of the H Hotel. What you see in the foreground here is actually the letters of Midland, and it encourages participation by people being able to become the eye. So Art Builds Midland was actually, all three words were spelled out that year and placed around the city for the first time, encouraging people to participate in the photo opportunity and then piece the the three pieces together to create that moniker of Art Builds Midland. We intentionally placed those sculptures around the city that first year, with Midland being down by the Tridge, Art being outside the Center for the Arts, and then Builds being at the new Central Park Elementary School that was under construction at that time. In 2018, we shifted gears and really started to think more intentionally and maybe a little bit more broadly about how we can encourage people to get out and experience art in a different part of the community. And so in 2018, we focused on this inside out type of concept where we had a number of installations, as you see here, where there was paintings that were actually put onto weatherproof and rainproof type of effectively metal onto posts that were then placed across the city, encouraging people to kind of walk from place to place. Each year that we've done an art installation through Public Arts Midland, we've actually then published maps to encourage people to participate primarily on walking or biking, and in some cases, driving from place to place. But 2018 was the Inside Out edition that was in Center City. There was some in Midtown and then also in downtown. 2019 is the year that we actually ended up with the current logo that we have that you see in the bottom left of the image. And this was a phenomenal year where we were able to partner with Dow Gardens. They were doing origami in the gardens that same season. And we wanted to be able to play on top of that, be able to connect some of the work that the committee was doing into the buzz that they were creating as part of that origami sculpture series that they brought in. And so as part of that, we were able to really then highlight the city's sister city relationship with Hyundai Japan and really be able to elevate that relationship that we've had for a number of decades between the two cities. That program itself, while it's been long going in the community, there's sort of a core group of people that are really well aware of what happens. And so we wanted to build deeper awareness of that relationship. And the origami sculptures really did allow for that additional focus to take place. So Dow Gardens was able to have large sculptures like this throughout their facility. And then the committee itself actually worked to do one of our first permanent installations. And this is, as you see here, the origami bird that's actually now in Grove Park. And Grove Park, for those that may be more familiar with other landmarks in Midland, is right across the street from Live Oak Coffee House, right in Midtown. So if you drive by the intersection of Grove and Ashman Street, this is not that far off. This was actually a sculpture that was done by a local artist and is attached atop of this post that you see here, elevated into the sky. The idea behind this sculpture and really the reason why the committee chose this particular sculpture was to try and really figure out a way that we could visually represent this idea of soaring together. And so art that year was intended to be bringing about people together to inspire, to talk about how we can move together boldly. And so we thought it would be very appropriate to move forward in this manner. It's actually been kind of fun because we've had not only a kickoff event that we did for this particular sculpture, which was a bit more formalized. It had a variety of speakers, but there's been a number of other iterations that have taken place around the sculpture, including a naming contest that actually was launched, sort of an informal naming contest, if you will. And this sculpture has been lovingly called Pointy Flap Flap by an online type of naming project that was done. So it's been fun to kind of see these types of pieces of art really start to be kind of welcomed by the community and people to be able to kind of take it and run in a variety of different ways, all spurring additional creativity. As well, in 2019, we did encourage community members to actually fold paper cranes, and then those were created into mobiles and then hung through a variety of different businesses and nonprofit organizations across the city. I know we had thousands of paper cranes that were folded. I know I hosted a dinner party where I had 6 of my friends and we folded paper cranes for half hour, 45 minutes, and were able to contribute in that way. And I know there's a variety of other people that built community around building these cranes, and then they were ultimately created into these beautiful types of mobiles that you see highlighted here in this image. It gave us an opportunity to be able to have people come together and create and participate in the art, boosting its exposure across the community and the amount of people that were participating. But it also allowed for just a variety and unique types of presentations of mobiles. Some had as many cranes as you see here. Some, like one at Center for the Arts, numbered into the thousands of cranes, and others had just a few. And so the variety that was created by participation by the community was really inspiring and very unique to see just how they were taken and made into their own unique shape. And that leads me into this current year, which is the idea of art plays. And certainly 2020 is not the unique year, or is a certain unique year. It's not the normal year. And so we did have the intentions this year of wanting to do painted pianos and to do a big kickoff event and really bring the community together. There was talk at the beginning to want to do an intergenerational type of event where we would possibly close down a street on Main Street and really encourage participation for a variety of age groups. All of that with COVID-19 has really had to change. And we were fortunate enough to really get the wheels of the painted piano project moving just before a lot of the quarantine and stay-at-home orders were issued back in March. And so this year we've actually had just under 20 artists that have been able to paint pianos, and then those pianos were then placed throughout the community, encouraging anyone and everyone that wants to be able to play to sit down and to do that in the public spaces in which they are set out in front. I'll show a map here shortly on where those are located across the city, but it was really a remarkable feat to be able to get us to the point that we are. We had a number of volunteers that went out and actually collected the pianos. We were a bit surprised at how many people were wanting to get rid of their stand-up pianos, and as soon as they saw a free opportunity to have someone come and get them, we had a number of people that gave us interest in that, and so it was remarkable to see the community come forward in that way. But then that allowed us to have a very unique canvas for these artists to be able to build their vision of creating that piece of art that ultimately then is passed on to the community to create music and to bring people together. Luckily, we had the benefit of the Midland Mall be able to donate a space to us. And so you see this highlighted here, some of the pianos as they came into us in their traditional wood shapes. We were able to create a banner and hang that outside and be able to draw attention to this project for people that are inside the mall and be able to give life to this particular part of the mall during this program. The mall actually gave it to us for free and allowed 24-hour access, which for those that are maybe artists on the call or have worked with artists, sometimes creativity comes at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. And so it was great to have that ability for artists to come in and work at their pace, especially because of COVID and everything that happened. It was a very short timeline, just about 4 weeks, where the artists had to paint these pianos. So with that, once they were all completed, we were able to hire 2 men in a truck to come out and deliver them across the community. And so they took those pieces and started to place them into their locations. This particular one's outside of the Center for the Arts under the overhang. Care was given to where they were, the pianos that were going to be located, and really allowing for sort of a champion that's nearby to be able to bring them in maybe during inclement weather or be able to cover them. Certainly being out and exposed to the elements as the weeks will go on, they'll have a bit of tuning issues that'll take place, but we've tried to mitigate that as best as possible by working with some champions nearby. We do have 14 pianos that are now placed out in the city. So if you are in Midland or you're coming to visit Midland, I'd certainly encourage you to check out our Public Arts Midland's Facebook or Instagram page to find this map, and you can see all 14 in their locations. They do stretch from downtown to Center City, a couple in Midtown, some over at kind of what was called Discovery Square, the Arts District with Center for the Arts in Dahlia Hill, and then one out in Chippewa Nature Center, as well as one out at the mall. So as mentioned with the maps, this is the one for this current year, and we do encourage you to go out and try them. I know I've been out with friends recently having dinner downtown, and the one on Main Street has been utilized both times I've been down there recently. So it's been fantastic to hear just the musicians really take to them and play some great pieces of music. The idea behind the Public Arts Committee at the beginning was really to try and elevate art, and specifically public art, within the community. And so as part of the work that we've been doing, we've actually seen a number of other entities be able to build on top of the work that we've been creating. So I certainly don't want to take responsibility for the murals that you see here, other than the one on the top left that's under the US 10 bridge on South Saginaw Road. But the other three are really representations of other artists and other organizations that have chosen to fund murals within the Midland community since 2016. Some of these have been done by Marked Arts, a local artist. The bottom right is done by Jasmine, that is part of our community, or our committee as well, and actually was funded through the MCYAC program at the Community Foundation. But really the intention behind Public Arts has always been to try and elevate those in the community that maybe don't have a large canvas, or try and find people that have the skill and the know-how to be able to paint a large mural, and try and get the resources into their hands to be able to elevate them. Certainly you create sense of place by having these types of work of art in your community. And I think it's been phenomenal to see the community's reaction and just the support that we've seen from people as they drive by and they notice the murals. It takes just an ordinary side of a building and makes it into something that is certainly not found anywhere else in the world. And so having these pieces across the city is something that I know the City of Midland has been very supportive of. It's been great to work with the Community Foundation, as well as the other partners that have participated in this committee to be able to elevate this type of placemaking within the city. Conclude my presentation, but as Chelsea mentioned, I certainly will stick on and wait if there's any questions or broader discussion that happens at the end.
Thank you, Grant. We actually have a question from our chat room. Are the pianos going to be a recurring installation?
To my knowledge, this is the only year that we're planning on doing those. So off the top of my head, I can't recall how many weeks they'll be out in the community, but I do know that 2020 is the year. So if you're wanting to get out and experience them, we'd encourage you to do that sooner than later.